Bonjour and welcome back to my channel, where we bring elegance and warmth to every table. Tonight I'm inviting you into my kitchen for a cozy French-inspired dinner, a celebration of rustic charm, fresh ingredients, and the joy of gathering. I'm not French, but I've always admired how French cuisine turns everyday ingredients into something extraordinary. This dinner is my humble tribute to that spirit, a table filled with love, laughter, and dishes that feel like a warm embrace. Let's begin with one of the stars of the evening, Vin Blanc. There's something undeniably romantic about transforming simple ingredients into a dish that feels like home. To make enough for 8 adults, I doubled the recipe. However, you can use 6 bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs or drumsticks, seasoned generously with salt and black pepper. I began by melting 2 tablespoons of butter along with 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil, and seared the chicken on both sides, starting skin side down to get that lovely crispiness, then set them aside. In the same pan, I added a bit more olive oil and tossed in my vegetables: baby onions, 2 small whole shallots, 2 carrots sliced diagonally, and roughly 4 garlic cloves. I sautéed the vegetables for a few minutes, just enough to soften them, then added a 1/4 cup of flour and stirred it to coat everything evenly. For depth of flavor, I deglazed the pan with brandy or cognac, followed by 1 cup of chicken stock, and stirred everything together to ensure there are no lumps. Then pour in half a bottle of dried white wine and let it simmer on medium heat until reduced. Next, I seasoned the mixture generously with half a teaspoon of oregano, 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I added 2 bay leaves and 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard, then adjusted with salt and pepper to taste. When all was combined, I returned the chicken to the pan and snuggled it together. I also added some shiitake mushrooms and cooked bacon that I prepared earlier. Once everything was combined, I covered the pan and let it cook on medium-low heat for about an hour and a half. To finish the sauce, I stirred in 3/4 cup of double cream, which adds a lovely richness. A final sprinkle of fresh parsley brings it all together. This dish is even more perfect if made the day before, allowing all the flavors to meld into something truly delicious. Next, I made caramelized stuffed onions, a comforting and flavorful dish. These are tender, sweet onions filled with a savory spiced rice and meat mixture, gently baked in a rich tomato pomegranate sauce. To begin, I peeled 4 medium to large yellow onions and made a single slit down the side of each, just deep enough to reach the center. I placed them in a large pot of boiling salted water and simmered them for about 20 minutes, just until softened. Once done, I transferred them to a bowl of cold water to stop the cooking and make them easier to handle. Now be sure to reserve the onion cooking water. We'll use it for the sauce later. While the onions cooled, I prepared the filling. In a pan with a few tablespoons of olive oil, I sautéed chopped onions until deeply golden and caramelized. Then added grated carrots and crushed garlic. Once softened, I stirred in ground meat and cooked it until browned. To this, I added long white rice, washed and drained of course, a splash of pomegranate concentrate, a spoonful of tomato paste, fresh mint or dried coriander if that's what you have on hand, the juice of half a lemon, toasted pine nuts, and salt to taste. I let the mixture simmer gently until the flavors melted and the liquid reduced slightly. Then removed it from the heat to cool at room temperature. Once the onions were cool enough to handle, I carefully separated them into layers. Each layer became a delicate wrapper for the filling. I placed a generous spoonful of the cooled mixture into each onion layer and rolled it up like a bundle. I arranged the stuffed onions snugly in a wide, shallow baking dish so they wouldn't shift during the cooking process. For the sauce, combine 2½ cups of the reserved onion water with 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1/4 cup of pomegranate concentrate, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. Bring it to a gentle boil, then pour it over the stuffed onions. Cover the dish with baking paper and foil, then bake in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours. After that, remove the foil and paper, baste the onions with the sauce, and return them to the oven for another 20 minutes to caramelize beautifully. The result is a dish that's rich, aromatic, and deeply comforting, a perfect addition to any French-inspired dinner table. Of course, I couldn't resist making my signature Pixar-style ratatouille. I picked up the freshest vegetables from the farmer's market. The colors and the flavors came together like a painting on a plate. I also made Provençal tomatoes, beautifully roasted and stuffed with the delicious cheese and breadcrumb mixture. I pulled this entire dinner together since this morning, so I haven't had the chance to film every detail. However, I will have all the recipe details and instructions linked for you in the notes below. For dessert, I used my pre-made homemade pie crust and made 2 strawberry galettes, my favorite summer dessert. I already have this recipe on my channel, so I'll link both the galette and pie crust recipes for you in the notes below. And of course, no French dessert table would be complete without profiteroles. Light, airy choux pastries filled with cream and drizzled with chocolate. A classic and always a crowd pleaser. I will link the recipe in the notes for you as well. To make the hosting stress-free, I prepped the table the night before and left notes on each dish, including which platter it would be served on. This little trick saves so much time and helps avoid last-minute decisions. I used beautiful French-style dishes I found on Amazon, along with Eiffel Tower napkin rings that added the perfect Parisian touch to the table. I also made beef bourguignon the day before and simply warmed it up before the guests arrived. I tried to keep everything warm so it could be served at its best. The coq au vin blanc, the caramelized stuffed onions, the Provençal tomatoes were all served. I also included some stuffed bell peppers, some appetizers, baked some French baguettes, and made the most delicious French deviled eggs. Oh my, they were so good, they disappeared within minutes. And then it was time to welcome everyone at the table and enjoy this beautiful, inspired French dinner. I popped open a bottle of French champagne, lit the candles, and let the evening unfold. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Until next time, bon appétit! Tous les matins.